Hey, fellow movie lovers all over the world, you already know this is your boy Testify to the Music, aka Mikey Savage 21, bringing you another late night movie review. And tonight we're going to be reviewing the 2016 American superhero film X-Men Apocalypse, which stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Oscar Isaac, Nicholas Hoult, Rose Byrne, Ty Sheridan, Sophie Turner, Olivia Munn, and Lucas Tim. The screenplay was created by Simon Kinberg and it was directed by Bryan Singer. And this film also serves as the sequel to X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past. So what we're going to do on this review is we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do both a non-spoilers review and a spoilers review. But what I'll do is I'll start off with the non-spoilers review, then I'll throw up the spoiler alert on the video, and I'll make sure I announce when I'm about to go into spoilers. That way, if you have not seen the film, you can still get my general thoughts and opinions on the film without going into any major plot details or anything. And if you've seen the film, then we can talk about it in the comment section below. But just make sure you label it appropriately and put spoilers so not to spoil it for other people. But with that being said, let's get straight into my general thoughts. So going into my general thoughts on this film, I actually liked it. I thought it was a good, solid film. Compared to X-Men First Class, it was pretty decent. Now I can admit this once again. I went into seeing a third film without having seen the prior one, so I have actually not seen X-Men Days of Future Past. Not at least all the way through, at least. I actually didn't get a chance to catch it when it came out a couple of years ago, unfortunately. So I can't compare it to that one, but I have also heard that it is one of the best X-Men films that they have produced, and it just really shows that Bryan Singer really cares about these characters and that he knows exactly what he's doing. But more on the lines of the plot and everything. Pretty much the plot here is the first mutant, as he is called in the film, Ansaba Noor. He is awakened from his slumber, and he's seeking out 4 horsemen to serve up under him, and he plans to reinvent the world in his entire image. And his philosophy is more so the weak shall perish and the strong shall survive. Meaning all the humans will die and most of the mutants will most likely survive because of their mutant gene that they have in their body. And it's up to Professor X and everybody else to stop his 4 horsemen. Of course, if you've seen the trailer, then you know that Storm is one of the 4 horsemen, Archangel is one, Psylocke is one, and of course Magneto would be last. Giving my general thoughts on the 4 horsemen and Apocalypse. I liked Apocalypse. I liked it. I liked the voice modulation they did. I felt that he was a very threatening presence, that he brought a sense of fear and tension to the film whenever he was talking. You could just buy into whatever he was saying when he would go into these little speeches and whatnot. You just buy what he's saying. As far as his 4 horsemen go, I really like Storm. I really like what they did with her. Perfect casting on there. I love the classic Mohawk look, and they do a good job of explaining, how she got her white hair and everything. And I just like how they used her in the film. As far as Psylocke goes, Psylocke was okay. She was pretty cool. It was good to see her, do a couple of things in the film, but I'll get more into that later on in the spoiler side of things. Archangel, he was cool. I like the concept of him, him getting new wings, and everything. I like that whole concept. And of course, Magneto. My goodness, Magneto. Always a highlight in the film. Him and James McAvoy as Professor X. He is always a great Magneto. I know Ian McKellen, I have to say he is a fantastic Magneto, but I can honestly say that Fassbender is also just as equally as good. Fassbender just brings this sort of tension and this sort of pain and anguish to his character of Magneto that you really buy into it, especially as we're following him throughout this film and the transition that he's going through, you just buy into the whole concept of what he is going through. Now getting into our X-Men here, of course, James McAvoy, always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Same thing I would have to say with Fassbender. You can really tell he's bought into this character. You can tell that he essentially is Professor X. Again, I know a lot of people are nostalgic to Patrick Stewart's version, but I have to say Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy, Patrick Stewart might be just a little better. But again, McAvoy is right there up there with him. Again, you buy into Professor X, you buy into the things that are going on with him throughout the film. Again, going not into too much detail, I just like his interactions that he has with Magneto and his interactions that he have with the Forest Horsemen and of course with Apocalypse himself. To see them trade blows and quips back and forth, you know, it's just always funny. Of course, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, you know, at this point, you know, you either love her or hate her as Mystique. I thought, you know, she did what she did in here. It was good to see Mystique back again. I haven't necessarily no too many complaints. Again, I'll get to that more so later on the spoiler side. Of course, Nicholas Hoult is Beast. Fantastic, fantastic. I will say this, as far as it goes, I think he was better utilized more so in X-Men First Class than in this one. In this one, he was more so, you know, infatuated with Mystique and was kind of, they made him kind of be like this bumbling idiot of a scientist, when in X-Men First Class, you just absolutely saw how brilliant and smart he was. Now, don't get me wrong, he's absolutely brilliant and smart in here as well. Yeah, but they just kind of changed a little bit, and it just kind of, you know, threw you off. Of course, you have Ty Sheridan playing Scott Summers, a.k.a. Cyclops. I really liked his portrayal of Cyclops from the moment he came on screen, with a very funny opening scene, I have to say, introducing him. It has to be funny, but I get into more on that, the spoiler side as well. Good casting here, same with Sophie Turner, I could tell. Her portrayal of Jean Grey was good. Now, I agree more so along with John Campea and a few of the other reviewers. When it first started off, I wasn't really into her character, but as it got closer and closer to the end of the climax of the film, I was really bought into her character, and I was really digging how she was portrayed and how, you know, she was developing her powers, and you saw that she was very strong, and she has this force inside of her that she's trying to learn to control, but at the same time doesn't want to control it at the same time. So again, Ty Sheridan and Sophie Turner, great job. I absolutely love what they did. Of course, I love Cyclops. Of course, I love Beast. Of course, I love Nightcrawler. I love the introduction of Nightcrawler. I have to say, Nightcrawler actually is one of my favorite X-Men. I can honestly say that, you know, without, you know, being a little too judgmental, I can say he's one of my favorite characters. And I thought it was perfect casting who they had playing him. And of course, Quicksilver. I've only seen Quicksilver just this once, because again, I have not seen Days of Future Past all the way through. But I love the scenes that we get with him. He is just a radiant character. He just has this radiance about him that's just really awesome and that's really great. And he just brings this certain presence to the screen. And it's just when he comes on, from when he first appears to, you know, the climactic showdown at the end, you're just like, okay, I need more Quicksilver now. You guys need to give me some more Quicksilver action. And I have to say, and this is not taking a shot at Disney Marvel, but I have to say that the Disney Marvel version of Quicksilver isn't as good as the X-Men version of Quicksilver. I have to say the way they handled his character, his demeanor, how he's portrayed, and how they just essentially ripped him straight from the comic book, and how quirky and comical he is, but at the same time he also brings this sort of serious tone and presence to him when he really exudes himself and uses his powers. So I have to say, and on top of that, he is way faster than the Quicksilver that we saw. I know in Age of Ultron he was there for the movie, but we didn't really get to see him utilize his speed. But again, this version just seems like the definitive version. But you know, getting into the film as a whole, again, on my general thoughts, I thought it was a really good film. Solid. It was a solid film. I mean, I could see where at certain points it was starting to fall off, and where the audience and myself were starting to get a little bit misplaced. Not so much with like it was with Batman versus Superman. But again, an overall good film. I liked, you know, the general story, to what they were going for. I liked the characters that they introduced in here, both the old and the new characters. And I love the surprise cameo that they had in there. It was also great to see this character come back as well for a brief little cameo. So I have to say the film overall was really good. And if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it anywhere from a 2.5 to a 3 out of 5. Really solid film. There were some problems, you know, that I'll get into later on in the spoiler side. But I do recommend you checking this out in theaters. It'll be a great theater experience. I don't feel like I wasted my money. I feel like it was a great film. Again, I went into this kind of with low expectations. Again, I have not seen an X-Men film since Days of Future Past, which came out a good number of years ago, and I haven't X-Men First Class, and I haven't seen, you know, Days of Future Past just yet. But I'm hoping to get to watch that soon. Netflix, you need to get on that and put it on there like right now. Anyone from the executives are listening from Netflix, put that on there now. But getting back into it, yeah, I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Yeah, 2.5 out of 5 to a 3 out of 5. You know what? I'll go a solid 3 out of 5. A solid 3 out of 5. Again, it was a good, enjoyable film. I didn't enjoy as much as I did Captain America Civil War. I still say that's a definitive better movie. It's got better action, better storytelling, better character development, better setup of introducing new characters. Just an overall better film. But X-Men is still better than Batman vs. Superman, and accomplished most of the goals that it set out to accomplish, whereas Batman vs. Superman didn't necessarily accomplish the goals that it wanted to. But with that being said, guys, we have a big spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I'm actually about to go into the spoilers review of X-Men Apocalypse. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in for the first half of this, of the non-spoilers review. Again, I recommend you checking it out. And for your safety, don't necessarily recommend commenting in the comment section below. You can go down there and leave your thoughts on what you thought of the review and what you think of the trailers themselves. But be forewarned, there might be spoilers in the comment section below. And again, anyone who wants to spoil something, please make sure you label it appropriately, so that way people can still be able to comment and have fun in the comment section without getting the whole entire movie spoiled for them. But with that being said, once again, spoiler alert, we're about to go into it. Alright, so now we're transitioning into the spoiler half of this. And pretty much what I did is I talked about, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to list 5 things that I liked about the film and 5 things that I disliked about the film. Trying to keep this kind of quick and keep it rapid so I don't have you guys on here too long. So jumping straight into it, the first thing I liked would have to be the first and second act of the film. I believe from the opening shot, you know, all the way leading up to the second act, I thoroughly enjoyed that half. I mean, it was a great setup. You have the introduction of Apocalypse and how he's able to transfer his essence, his spirit, into different mutants, and that explains how he's gotten amassed all of these powers throughout the years. I like the setup, and I like how he was betrayed by his followers. And essentially they turned on him, and man turned on him. So that's why, you know, he also has a grudge and an axe to grind with the current humans of this time, because he's still holding a bit of a grudge. And when he shows up to Egypt, after Rose Byrne's character stupidly, of course, let sunlight get in there, you just see the presence as soon as he comes on, how he's confused about what time he is in and how much Egypt has changed. I love the introduction of the new characters, from Nightcrawler to Cyclops to Jean Grey, perfect casting all around. Again, with some of the characters at first, You know, it took me a few minutes, but again, with that whole opening scene with Cyclops with the guy, and he's, "Are you blinking at my girl?" And of course, he's like, "No, dude, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And then he's in the bathroom, and then of course the guy shows up, and he's just like, "Hey man, I don't appreciate you." And I'm like, and of course in my mind I'm thinking, dude, sit down somewhere before you get hurt. And sure enough, he does get hurt. He tries to bang down the door. Cyclops opens his eyes and blasts the door and blasts him straight into the wall of the bathroom. Of course, now he no longer wants to be a part and decides to run away, of course. And again, I love how Cyclops first gets introduced to the school because of his brother Havoc and his first meeting of Jean Grey. I like the chemistry that they had throughout the film. Nightcrawler, I like how they introduced him fighting Archangel inside of a cage, essentially. That was a cool concept, and that was also a cool fight, which came to head later on when we got to the climax of the film as well. But again, the first and second half of the film had some very great moments in there, especially from, you know, Michael Fassbender's Magneto and James McAvoy's Professor X. Had some great scenes in there. And of course, who could not forget to mention Quicksilver? Again, stole the show with the little action sequence of him coming in and saving everyone from the exploding building after Havoc tried to take out Apocalypse after he stole Professor X. Of course, can't forget to mention that. So again, that was just a highlight for me. I absolutely loved the first and second half of the film. Going into number 2, I love the introduction of the new characters. I briefly mentioned this in the last one. I love how they introduced the new characters and we got a bit of backstory from each one of them. But they still left a little bit of mystery for us to figure out so they can expand upon it in the next films. I actually like that. And I like how they were in their classic costumes. And then when you get to the very end, you see their iconic costumes that they're in. I like that as well. And of course, talking about the introduction of new characters, I absolutely loved how they introduced Storm into this world. Storm is a fantastic character, and I think it was perfect casting of who they got. I'm thoroughly impressed, and I love the overall look of Apocalypse. I thought it was one of the best things about it. And I liked Archangel. I like how they introduced him. He seemed like a pretty cool dude. You know, a little bit of a drunk. Likes a little bit of Van Halen, a little bit of rock music. Nothing wrong with that. So I like that. And you know, Olivia Munn's character of Psylocke, she was there. And of course, again, you know, Oscar Isaac's performance, overall great. I'd have to give it a 10+. He did a great job. I love what they did with him. The voice modulation did get a little old after once you got towards the climax of the film. It got a little bit old, but you know, throughout, you know, it really didn't bother me. Third, again, I had mentioned this also in the first one, Quicksilver has to be a highlight. I really loved what Quicksilver did here, and I love how he discovered that Magneto is his dad, and how he's conflicted about wanting to confront him and tell him, and how when he has the chance to tell him, he decides, you know what, no, I'm not going to tell him. Not the circumstances aren't right. I'll tell him, you know, when the time is right. And I like how they hold that off, but at the same time, I kind of feel like Magneto knows, oh, this kid is my son. I feel like he kind of senses it. So I like that. I like where they're going with that. I hope they play that up more in the next X-Men film, whether it's the New Mutants film or the new X-Men film that's supposed to be set in the 90s. Rocking and rolling to number 4. I just love the overall performances of each main character, especially between James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. They had great chemistry. They always have great chemistry. You can tell that these guys have been through hell and back with each other. You can tell that they're really great friends, and I love their chemistry that they have. I have to say that I actually do like Jennifer Lawrence's, how she has this great chemistry on and off again with Nicholas Holt's character Beast. You could tell that, of course, Beast has a major crush on Mystique, but Mystique is just kind of more so about, you know, looking out for herself, and she still obviously has deep ties and feelings for Magneto as well. And I love to see that come to play when she eventually confronts him and tries to bring him to his senses. I love the Sophie Turner, and I love her chemistry with Ty Sheridan. Great chemistry. I even like Nightcrawler's chemistry that he had with Archangel. While it was brief, I absolutely loved it in the beginning when they were in the cage fight, and I loved it later on towards the end of the film, seeing where that came from. And I hope Archangel comes back because, again, they had some interesting, cool concepts with him, so I hope he gets to come back. But again, it was great chemistry throughout this film. And of course, last but not least, on the things I liked would have to be the Wolverine cameo. I absolutely love the cameo that they have here. We absolutely got a sneak peek of what the rated R Wolverine 3 movie is going to look like. We have blood, we have carnage, we have all kinds of things just going on throughout this film, especially when he shows up. And I just love how she's just like, there's something wild, primitive, it's a weapon. No, it's a man. And it's just, and at the same time, we're all in theater saying, it's Wolverine. We know it's Wolverine. Just go ahead and let Wolverine break on out of there. Just help him get out. And of course, when he gets out, we have him in his garb with the equipment all on him and everything. And then you have a great character moment between him and Jean Grey, you know, signifying, you know, the attachment that Wolverine would have later on in the regular X-Men and X2 and X3 films. But getting into the list of things I didn't like, I'm going to kind of rapid fire these off and take maybe a few seconds to talk about each of these because this video is running kind of long. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. First thing I disliked was the usage of Apocalypse. I felt they could have used him a little better. If anything, it just seemed like he was just spouting off random speeches. Every time that there was something going on, he would have to say some kind of motivational speech, like Four Horsemen be like, oh, I don't want to do this. Well, let me tell you this. And how, you know, and again, I liked Oscar Isaac's performances, isn't taking nothing away from him. I just feel like the writers could have did a better job with the uses of Apocalypse. And again, we still are a little unclear on his motives. I mean, for the most part, I assume that his motives were that he's mad at humans because they betrayed him, so he wants to cleanse the earth and just rebuild it in his own image. Rocking and rolling in the number 2 was a lack of character development for certain characters, and this ties into actually number 4. And when I say lack of character development, I mean there's not too much character development going on. You didn't really see any character development with Mystique for real. Not really. I mean, you have her being called a hero throughout the film, and she's ogled and oohed at by all the mutants everywhere as some kind of hero, and she's dealing with that. But I mean, again, you know, and again, the Four Horsemen, and again, this just ties right into my fourth one. Excluding Magneto and Storm, Psylocke was absolutely useless in this film. I felt like they could have had anybody else in here, and Olivia Munn was wasted. I don't know if it's necessarily because she's not a good actor, and Bryan Singer was like, okay, we're just going to have to cut out some of her scenes because she is not good. I've actually only seen a few of her films, and she was alright in those films. But yeah, I feel like Psylocke was absolutely wasted, and Archangel was wasted a little bit too. I felt like, you know, the defeat of him was a little bit anticlimactic. Like, I expected more from him. Of course, and then, you know, rocking and rolling to my third point, Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. I'm not going to even bother to go into too much detail with this. Let's just say that I could tell that she really didn't want to be a part of the film, that she was phoning it in. But, oh well, what can you do? That's all I really have to say about that. Of course, the Four Horsemen, I already mentioned them. With the exception of Magneto and Storm, I felt like Archangel and Psylocke were wasted. And of course, you know, going into the last thing, the ending fight sequence. Okay, now this is what kind of pissed me off about that ending fight sequence. And this is just kind of really kind of ticked me off. I'm thinking the whole time when everybody's trying to team up to fight Apocalypse, and all he's doing is throwing up a barrier. I'm like, hello, Magneto, did you forget what he showed you when he brought you back to the camp? There is metal all in the earth. Why don't you pick up the earth around his feet and capture him instead of trying to throw dirt and rocks and buildings at him with a force field? Absolutely stupid and asinine. But I was like, look. But even beyond that, I mean, how everyone's just like, oh, okay, well, let's do this. I just felt that whole Magneto sequence, it just kind of got on my nerves. But I do like how it took the combined power of Magneto, Scott Summers as Cyclops, as Storm, as she turned on him, and of course, Jean Grey and tapping into her Phoenix powers. I absolutely enjoyed that, and I thought it was a great sequence, but that just kind of bothered me a little bit about that ending fight sequence with Apocalypse. I felt it was a little too anticlimactic, especially when you compare it to films like Batman vs. Superman or Captain America Civil War, which had better battle ending sequences, and they were fully fleshed out and did everything that they could, especially in Captain America Civil War. And I know people are going to get tired of making a comparison, but think about it, they're all comic book movies. They all had the same somewhat storyline. You have characters going against our other characters. There's a big battle at the end against a big bad or against each other. So they were all essentially the same, but different, with different companies and different characters. But it was essentially the same. So rocking and rolling to the last part, scenes that I would change or that I think should be taken out. The list goes on and on and on, but see, changing that up to scenes I think they should have put in. I think they should have put in the scenes with the montage of them going to the mall, because I really wanted to see them go to the mall. In the trailer, we saw Nightcrawler getting a brain freeze. Well, I went in there expecting to see Nightcrawler get a brain freeze. All I saw was them coming out of Return of the Jedi, and I'm like, where's the montage at? Wait a minute, where's the montage? They said they're going to the mall. Show us the dog blasted montage. That just kind of pissed me off too, because I was like, what the hell? Where is the montage? You say, okay, we're going to show you this in the trailer. And this is what kind of ticks me off about trailers too, is they put stuff in the film, they put stuff in there that you think is going to be in the film, and then once you go see it, it's not even there. And you're like, what the hell? And then it's just like, oh, well, that was a deleted scene, and we're going to put it on the Blu-ray DVD. Okay, so essentially you just put it in there to get me into the theater, to get my money. Then because I still want to see the scene, I got to pay money for the Blu-ray DVD to see it now. That's just how films work, honestly. But again, scoring this film, now that I've gotten more into it, I'm 2.5 to maybe a 3 out of 5. Again, it wasn't that good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it's worth. I went in with low expectations, but again, compared to X-Men First Class, wasn't that good. From the first little bit that I saw of Days of Future Past, it wasn't as good as that film. So once again, the X-Men franchise has kind of crapped the bed with their third sequels. Of course, this one not being nowhere near as bad as X3 The Last Stand, which I am so glad that X-Men Days of Future Past has wiped out of our minds. Thank goodness, that awful film. But again, yeah, 2.5 out of 3 out of 5 is what I'd have to get it. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap this on up. What did you think about X-Men Apocalypse? If you're still sticking around, whether you've seen the film or after you've seen the film, do you plan to go see it if you haven't seen it already, if you're stuck around for the spoilers review? And if you have seen it, do you feel like it was a good use of your money? What would you think about it? Make your own list down below, what you liked and what you didn't like. As also, make sure you hit that like button, smash it right in the face. It helps out the channel immensely. Also, please subscribe to the channel as well so you can get more reviews like this. Again, I apologize for getting this out to you guys so late. I've been working on music all day with my upcoming album that's working. With my upcoming album that I'm releasing in October. Also working with some other guys on features of their own, so that took a little bit of my time. But again, thank you so much for tuning in to the review. Again, smash the like button, thumbs up. I really appreciate it if you do. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember, if you're going to leave spoilers in the comment section, remember to label it appropriately for those who have not seen the film yet and they want to post their own thoughts in the comment section below of what they thought of the trailers and whatnot, and giving their overall thoughts on what they heard me say. Label it correctly. Be friendly to each other in the comment section. No fighting. Keep it PG if you have to. If you have to get rated R, well, you just get rated R. Maybe it'll gear you up for the new Wolverine film that's coming out that'll be rated R. So, oh, well, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. So, thank you again for tuning into the video. I'm Testify to the Music, aka Mikey Savage 21, saying peace out. Have a blessed night. Hope you have a blessed day. See ya. Oh, gosh. Oh. This is kind of how I felt coming out of X-Men Apocalypse, you know. Kind of a little let down, kind of not let down. But still a good film overall. Oh crap. Microphone is still on. Well, I'll just edit this part out. That's not important.